Check this out, my toughest project to date. Got some colored matching caulking. Like I mentioned, this is the toughest project I've tackled on this RV to date. And the hardest part was actually removing the original sealant. Putting on this new sealant was pretty simple. You'll see later in the video that I will probably repeat myself several times. So I'm very happy with my end results. Of course, it could always be better, but this is definitely a better job than how it came from the factory. So stick around, watch the rest of the video if you're interested in what I did. A word of caution is this is going to be an extreme amount of good old-fashioned labor taking off that old sealant. That was the worst part of the job, and you will definitely have to dedicate many hours to do this repair. Now I did do a color match. The product I'm using comes in 100 different colors. And if you don't want to do a color match, they do have a translucent color that you may want to use. But taking off the old product too, you may run into some paint scraping and chipping that you may have to do a little bit of a paint touch-up. Not a project I recommend everyone to do, but if it's bothering you enough, this is something you may want to tackle. Most of these areas are really cosmetic more than functional. You know, this is not an area where if water gets in, it gets inside your RV. It just gets behind the molding. But the cosmetics of it all, again, is it should look like this from the factory. So stick around and hopefully you enjoy the video. Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to go over the exterior caulking or sealants on my RV. If you can see right here, my caulking or sealant is starting to come off. Now let me give you a little backstory of this, is that this is actually a repair already done by two different dealers. And my original caulking or sealant was crystal clear when I first got it, but I noticed after about 6 months it all started turning yellow and cracking really bad. I'll insert some pictures here so you can see what it looks like. Now that you've seen those pictures, we're going to go ahead and make this repair. Like I mentioned, this has been repaired already twice from two separate dealers. It was not a very pleasant warranty experience. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this all up and use my own product. Now the original sealant that Winnebago used, it was a crystal clear sealant. And if you know anything about sealants, anything that's clear or crystal clear or transparent, they don't actually have the good UV qualities like a solid color has. So I'm not going to use what Winnebago originally used. That didn't even last 6 months. And I'm definitely not going to use what the warranty repair place used. I did look at the sealant that they had, and it was actually pretty good quality sealant. And looking at why it's falling off, I just don't think they did a surface preparation very well. But while I'm replacing this, I might as well try to use something that I'm more comfortable with. So let me show you an area right here. Right here, this is a sealant I put in for testing. I just wanted to see how well it performed. It's an actual colored sealant, and it's what I had on hand at that time. So I just wanted to see how well it would hold up to the sun. I've used it on other projects, so I figured I'd try to duplicate that here. It's not the exact same color, but it has held up over the test of time. So that's the product I'm going to use. Let me show you what I'm going to use. So what I'm going to use, I have two different ones. I have a translucent color here, and this is a silver. We'll see. I don't know which color I'm going to use right now. This is a new color silver. I think that's going to be a pretty good match to the silver I have. So I think that's what I'm going to end up using. But you will see. But first things first, I'm going to go ahead and scrape all this off. I don't think you need to see that on video. I am going to have to clean it really good. Now the previous dealer, under warranty, this is not holding well, so I believe they just did not do a good job on the surface preparation. So I'll make sure I do that, clean it up really good. Unfortunately, it looks like it's kind of silicone based, and that silicone base usually leaves a tiny little bit of residue, and if any of that stays behind, new sealants will not stick to it very good. But let me go ahead and get this cleaned up, and I'll put my own sealants in. Just like my other videos, get these plastic razors, the scraper with the razors, and they'll make your job a little bit easier. I'll show you an example of what was left behind in the back here. Let's go right here, right above my light, or my my license plate. You can see there was some leftover caulking that was not removed, and you can see how you can just take it off with this plastic razor. So that's what I'm going to end up doing on removing all the areas. If you look at it closely, all my repair areas that they just did not do a great job with this silicone based sealant. If you look at it closely, it looks like it's ready to fall off. So I'm gonna have to take all this off, and I'll put my own sealants in. So let me go ahead and get this cleaned up and do some surface preparation, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, I'm about to put the sealant or caulking on now, and I've taped both sides up. You can see the joint right down the center. It's okay if the joint isn't exactly the same size. It wasn't from the beginning. And I also, because when I put the tape in, I also pressed down with my finger. I ran an isopropyl alcohol, or I cleaned it one more time to get all those fingerprints out of there, or the oils from your fingers. And now we will run a bead of caulking all the way down, and like I mentioned, I'm going to use this silver color because that's the color of my RV. The translucent color is probably a safe bet for most RVs, but this is what I'm going to go with because I did a pretty good color match. And let's go ahead. This is one of those, it's kind of like art. If you've ever done caulking, it's a little bit of an art. And I have definitely not mastered it. And my process is that if I make a mess, I just redo it and clean it up. And just keep redoing it until I get it perfect. So after we put this bead down, we're going to work that sealant in with our fingers. And follow the instructions on here. I think you need to let this set. Now this product that I'm using is pretty hard to work with. So you need to make sure that you're set up properly to put this in. It's very messy and sticky. So I have my own little tricks on what I do to get it cleaned up, and I'll show you here in just a minute. You want to make sure you have plenty of extra paper towel on hand. And the hotter it is, the faster it actually sets up. So I have a little mixture of dish soap and water in here, and I'll use that to wet my fingers. And let me get some extra paper towel on here. And I just go a little at a time. I dip my finger, get it wet first in that soapy water. You start from the top and just work your way down. Take that extra and wipe it off on a piece of rag or paper towel, and dip your finger again and repeat the process. You keep doing that, and if you have areas where you feel you need to add more on, you just add more on. I've seen other people use like that spray window cleaner, and I'm not sure how well that works or not, but I have seen other people use it. But the plain old dish soap and water has always worked for me in the past, and it's really what has worked the best for me is the patience, because like I mentioned, this is like an art. If you want a good job, you just have to take your time. And I don't know if you can really see this. I don't know if the camera can pick this up. Let me, right about here, you can see the blemish that I created here, and you can fix that. Just make sure you get your fingers wet, and it looks like I don't have enough product in there. So I'm gonna start from the bottom because I have extra product on the bottom, and I'll work my way up and see if I can fill that in. And so these are two separate pieces. This piece overlaps this piece, and this is not really a waterproof feature, because if water gets in, it just drips down. It's open to the bottom. It's more of a aesthetics than the actual function, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I've seen many, I looked at many of the older models all the way back to 2017, and I've seen the exact same problem. So I don't know if it's the actual sealant that they used, but like I mentioned, if they're using a crystal clear sealant, crystal clear does not have the UV properties, and it'll never last very long in the outdoor environment. And again, this is just my personal opinion based on looking at hours of product data sheets of different manufacturers on different sealants. And pretty much they all have the same thing, is crystal clear has the worst performing in the UV qualities compared to a darker color. So I'm going to repeat the process, keep wetting my fingers, and you probably won't catch all of this. And after I'm done and removing the tape, I'll show you what the final product looks like. Here's a snapshot again of the finished project. And there's a minor touch-up I need to do if you look at it really close. Right here. I mean, acceptable, definitely much better than the factory, but I will end up putting another coating on here. And this is what it takes. You got to do all this preparation, tape everything off. It's quite a bit of work. I don't know if this is something I would encourage anyone else to do. And the toughest part was actually scraping everything off, the old stuff off. And what I noticed why the new repair was falling off easy was in many of the places they actually didn't scrape the old product off, which is really hard to do. So they did the easy thing, and I don't think that Sikaflex was compatible with what was there. So I did scrape it off the best. I got 99% of it, but there is still a little bit of the old product left behind. So I'm hoping this new product that I'm using, you can see I did this side back here too. It blends in pretty good. I'm hoping that is more compatible with the existing. And I did the same thing over here. I basically removed all the product throughout everywhere here. Same as this entire slide out. And finally this front cap, I did the same thing. It's going to be hard to pick up with the camera, but I've already, if you look at it closely, I've already put the sealant on there. But like I mentioned, most of the work is actually in scraping the old product off and the preparation. I think that's what most people are going to do, is skip many of those steps. And I'm not really encouraging anyone else to really do this, but if you do plan on doing it, prepare to spend quite a bit of time on this. And during the warranty process, I really did want to get it to the factory, but the factory did not want to take this. And just like I suspected, it's not something at the dealer level they can really do. So if you're out of warranty, if your existing sealant is actually just cracked only, you may want to just find a compatible product that you can go over, tape it off and go over the existing. That may be a lot easier to do. Well, that's it for this video. Like I showed you, this is the finished project here. I'll go ahead and do some other areas, but I'll wrap this up. In the next video, maybe I'll show you what or how Winnebago does their roof. I know this is a critical item. It's on many forums. But after all my inspection on this particular Winnebago, the View in the Navion anyways, that roof is almost impossible to fly off. That fiberglass is on there pretty good. So I'll show you the areas to really look after and maintain. That'll give you a long-lasting roof without having all the worries. But that's it. That's it for this video. So if you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video.